Okay, word association. I say a word and you tell me the first images that pop into your head. Ready? And the word is Japan. What comes to mind? What images? Mount Fuji? Cherry blossoms? Buddhist shrines? If so, those are typical. Those are the images that I think most of us associate with Japan. But here's the interesting thing for me. Since we got back, almost every single conversation about our Japan trip goes the same way. 90% of the people I talk to, the very first thing out of their mouth is about the food. Not the temples, not the culture, not the language, the food. So that's what this video is going to be about. A huge number of those people say some version of this. I would love to go to Japan. It really fascinates me, but I think I'd starve to death and never find anything to eat. So I guess I'll never go. So let's talk about food. First misconception. Japan is not just sushi. If you don't like raw fish, you can travel your entire time in Japan and never eat a single bite of it. That's not a challenge, it's easy. We ate sushi because we enjoy it, but we always had to seek it out. Sushi is not mandatory in Japan. What does find you, constantly, relentlessly, is meat. So much meat. There are yakiniku restaurants everywhere. Yakiniku means grilled meat. Small grills built right into the table, and they bring you thinly sliced Wagyu beef to cook yourself. My surprise was that to my Western palate, Wagyu beef was fine. It's a cattle that's bred for extreme fat marbling, which produces a velvety mouthfeel, but not necessarily a deep, beefy flavor. And as a Westerner, I think I'd trade a little bit of that texture for a little more flavor. Not a criticism, just a cultural difference. A few other surprises. I expected Japan to be the land of abundant fresh grilled and stir-fried vegetables. Compared to an American plate, vegetables are actually pretty scarce in Japan, and when they did appear, they were often small side dishes and frequently pickled. I also expected rice with everything, the way Japanese restaurants in the US serve it. In Japan, you often have to order rice separately, and when you do get it, it's not that big, heaping bowl you're used to back home. And here's one that genuinely caught me off guard. Japanese food was often a little bland. That's not a criticism. My Western palate is, I guess, trained on heavily seasoned, heavily salted food. Japanese cuisine is far more about subtle flavors than I expected. Now, having said that, when the Japanese decide to go bold, they go very bold. And sometimes that meant things that, to the Western palate, to our palates, were completely inedible. But those were always our choice, us trying something new to see how we liked it. Another surprise, food was amazingly affordable, even in Tokyo. I expected New York prices and was constantly and pleasantly wrong. Sarah and I stopped at small but well-reviewed lunch places, ate fresh prepared food, couldn't finish what we were served because there was so much of it, and got out for around $10 a person. Okay, worst thing I ate? Uni. That's spelled U-N-I. When I looked it up after I ate it, it was sea urchin gonads. It tasted like a pungent cut of fish that had been left out for too long and had started to spoil. I'd like to try it again, though, because I had it at a small sushi place in kind of a mall, which was fine but not special and evidently fresh. High-quality uni can be sweet, creamy, and briny, and yeah, what I ate was none of those things. I just need to make sure I'm at a higher quality restaurant next time so I get a higher quality uni. Our biggest food hardship? Yeah, this wasn't really a hardship, but soda. Sarah prefers Diet Coke, which is basically unheard of in Japan, and I like Coke Zero, and even that was almost nowhere to be found. I mean it. That was genuinely our biggest food complaint, not the gonads, the soda. Our most fabulous meal was early in the trip. A Michelin-starred restaurant in Tokyo, where the first 40 minutes we were the only people in the entire restaurant, and the chef prepared everything tableside. It was absolutely amazing. But our most special meal came on the last night of our trip. We wanted to do something memorable, and I knew I couldn't make a reservation by myself because I didn't speak enough Japanese, so I went to the concierge in our hotel, which wound up taking a surprising 25 minutes of back and forth between him and me, and then him and the restaurant, and then him back with me. Reservations were made. We walked half a mile that evening expecting a fabulous meal. We were greeted warmly, and they immediately asked if I had a reservation, and I said, yes, I do. And they said, Andrew? And I said, no, Dan. And they said, reservation? And I said, yes. And they said, Andrew? And I said, no, Dan. Then they asked us our hotel. They called the hotel. Shockingly, not a single person available spoke English in the hotel at that particular moment, which this hotel, up until that point, every single person we met spoke better English than we do. Eventually, the owner chef came over and I typed an explanation into Google Translate that I'd made a reservation. I think it was here. I probably made a mistake and booked somewhere else. I don't know where I booked. And he read it and looked at us with a genuinely kind expression and said, "You stay here. We take good care of you." And they did. This is a place that specialized in shabu shabu, which is a pot of simmering broth at the table where you cook your own food. They also specialized in teppanyaki, a flat skillet where food is seared and finished with a flavored sauce. Lots of meats, noodles, vegetables. One of the cooks came to get us started and handed us each a raw egg in a bowl, nodding to us knowingly. We had no idea what we were supposed to do with this, and eventually he coached us, through pointing, to crack the eggs into the bowls and whisk them with our chopsticks. And after serving our first round of beef that he had seared for us and seasoned, he gestured for us to dip the meat into the raw egg before eating it. It added, interestingly, almost no flavor whatsoever, but gave the beef an incredibly velvety, luxurious mouthfeel. It was really remarkable. We ordered what seemed like the right amount of food, but it turned out to be a little bit too much. We worked our way through it, enjoying every bite while also becoming dangerously full. Finally, we were done, except we discovered we weren't. More food arrived. I had ordered, evidently, the udon noodles as a part of my meal, so they were cooked on the skillet, and they were amazing. But I was so full I was about to be sick. Then they brought a complimentary side dish prepared especially for us. Sarah nearly cried. Not at the gift, at the fact that she was being expected to eat something more. I ate some. Sarah moved hers around on her plate to make it look like she'd eaten more than she had. Then, another surprise, they brought us dessert. We made it through a little bit of the dessert. We were so uncomfortably full at this point. I asked for the check. Our server brought 2 folded pieces of paper to the counter and said that we must wait. The chef had a gift for us, and he patted the paper. It felt like they might be comping our meal, which seemed unlikely. And I looked around and we were sitting there waiting and I didn't know what was going on. I was feeling uncomfortable. So I reached over and I grabbed the papers and pulled them and unfolded them. And they were blank, completely blank. Now we were more confused than ever. So I refolded them and I placed them right back where they had been. But we were also kind of relieved at that point that they weren't expecting us to eat anything else. Finally, the chef came over. He looked like a Japanese version of Brian Dennehy. Big, kind eyes, kind of square face. He leaned over the counter and said something about a gift. Then he was rummaging around and produced a Japanese kind of disposable pen, except this one had a long cap, and when he removed it, it revealed a brush. He took the paper, opened it up, and drew a couple of sweeping lines. Then he wrote some words. Then he began to study my face and draw some more. Then he studied Sarah's face and drew some more. When he had finished, he handed it to us, and it was wonderful. It was a picture of Mount Fuji with some words of the restaurant on it and our caricatures on it. When you travel, you always wonder what memento will capture the whole trip for you. This was ours.